Friends, it is a great honour to be here tonight in this magnificent Labour family, and to be here above all with my friend, the re-elected Labour MP for Ealing Southall, Virendra Sharma. Virendra, it is really humbling to be here tonight, and humbling to say above all, thank you to all of you. Thank you for the people who delivered the leaflets. Thank you for the people who knocked on the doors. Thank you for the people who made the telephone canvassing. Thank you to the people who came out and made May the 6th a great day for Labour across the whole of London, and especially in Ealing Southall. Virendra, you doubled your majority in this election. If we, in every constituency, had achieved the result that you achieved in Ealing Southall, we would have a Labour government today. And so we need to learn the right lessons of this strange election win in London, but election defeat nationally. One lesson is you cannot have a strong Labour Party nationally unless you have a strong Labour Party locally. And so, Julian, the victory that you have achieved with your colleagues, the victory of these 15 new councillors from Ealing Southall here, that is the sort of victory that comes from being in touch with our communities. So thank you for the work that is being done locally, and your contribution in the next 4 years will be to show people here, but also around the country, that Britain works best when it's Labour that is leading it. So thank you for your leadership here. The fact that in London we have more than 200 more councillors, 8 extra councils that are Labour, 18 in total, that shows the sort of in-touch, engaged, outward-looking Labour Party that we need right around the country. And the fact that Claude Moraes is here, the day that you bring your wife home from hospital, that says a lot about your commitment to the people of Ealing. So thank you very much for what you're doing here. And promise me this, new Labour, new baby, new time off. Please take your paternity leave for the next 2 weeks. I know the kind of Britain that I want to live in, and I think it's the kind of Britain that has brought you all here tonight. It's the kind of Britain that makes us Labour. It's the kind of Britain that says, when it comes to education, we need the best schools in the state sector for all kids to enjoy, and that's why we do defend the Building Schools for the Future programme. We know the kind of Britain we want to live in. It's a Britain that says there are people in this room who are fantastic entrepreneurs, who are the leading business people, not just of London, but of Britain. But they know they need a government that is on their side when it comes to the tough decisions that they've got to make. A government that's actually willing to back business rather than let business sink or swim. We know the kind of Britain that we want to live in. It's a Britain where the National Health Service is there for you whenever you need it. And we have saved the National Health Service over the last 13 years. It's a National Health Service that we're determined to defend. We also know that we want to live in a Britain that celebrates the global connections that you can see in this room. And I want to say a word about this. If you've got heritage from Pakistan and know that over the last 13 years your Labour government has worked to make sure that Pakistan has a civilian government that serves all of its people, I want you to know that the Labour Party is going to be on your side in opposition, not just in government. If you're here with heritage from Bangladesh, and you know that actually it was the support of a Labour government that helped return Bangladesh to civilian rule, and I know the thing about civilian rule is that there are democratic elections and you can't please everyone after a democratic election. But if you are from Bangladesh, if you've got heritage in Bangladesh, and you want to see human rights defended in Bangladesh and civilian government defended in Bangladesh, we're going to be on your side in opposition as well as in government. And if you're from India and celebrate the success story of South Asia, and know that the partnership of Dr. Singh and Gordon Brown was one of the most remarkable partnerships of prime ministers anywhere in the world. I want you to know that we're going to be on your side in opposition as well as in government. There are people here, Sen Kandiar amongst others, representing Tamils for Labour. I want you to know that in the Queen's Speech debate on Wednesday, I will be speaking up for the Tamil people, just as I did when we were in government. We're not going to give up on you now. There's the chair here of Arab Friends of Labour. We are not going to give up on that search for a Palestinian state able to live alongside Israel just because we're in opposition. We're going to carry on campaigning for that in opposition as well. We celebrate our global connections. We celebrate the fact that this is a multi-faith, multicultural community. We celebrate that there are people here of all religions and of none. And we celebrate the fact that London, the most multicultural city in Britain, is also the most tolerant and one of the most successful cities in Britain, probably the most successful city in Britain. And we're not going to give up on that either. That's my kind of Britain. A Britain where people have power in their own communities, where merit and enterprise is properly rewarded, and a Britain that celebrates the fact that people do want to come here and make their living and contribute to our country and pay their taxes. That's the sort of Britain that's worth fighting for. Now, if we are to get power again, to build that kind of Britain again, we need a Labour Party that is actually in touch with our communities and able to represent all of our communities. So we have to build a Labour Party that doesn't just win big votes in Ealing Southall, but recognises that you do so because this is one of the biggest Labour parties in Britain. It's not an accident that Ealing Southall has one of the biggest Labour parties in Britain and has one of the best results in Britain. It really isn't an accident. We need a Labour Party. A Labour Party that is a living, breathing movement in touch with our communities, not just there at election time, not just there when we're asking people for their vote, but there when we're offering to do something for people, to help people, to work with people for the benefit of their communities. That is a Labour Party that is open to you, whether you are a successful business person, whether you're an aspiring young student, whether you're someone who's unemployed who wants to make something of themselves, or whether you're doing the hardest job in the world, being a citizen of our country and of any country. We want a Labour Party that's open to you. We need to build a Labour Party that says, we want to listen to you, whether you voted Labour or not. And there are people in this room who've been invited who aren't members of the Labour Party. We listen to you, we talk to you, we try and persuade you, we learn from you. That's the kind of Labour Party I want to lead. And I also want a Labour Party that learns one other lesson. Yes, we're a disciplined fighting force. Yes, we're ready to mobilise and unify come election time. But we also know that a living, breathing movement is a movement which debates ideas, which really does challenge conventional wisdom, and remembers that some of the greatest achievements of our government over the last 13 years are things that people wouldn't have dreamt of 13 years ago. The fact that we are now the leader when it comes to international overseas aid, people didn't dream of that 13 years ago. When people recognise that it's actually this country which has pioneered anti-discrimination legislation on grounds of race or religion. People didn't dream of that 13 years ago. We've challenged conventional wisdom and actually we've shifted the centre ground of British politics. So when people say to me, do you want the Labour Party to occupy the centre ground? I say, of course I do. But I also want a Labour Party that shifts the centre ground. Shifts the centre ground so that power, wealth and opportunity is in the hands of many people rather than just a few. That's the sort of Labour Party that we believe in. So I'm here tonight to say thank you, to congratulate you, to learn from you, to listen to you, but also to ask you to rededicate yourselves, not just to the Labour Party, but to your local community. To rededicate yourselves to fighting for those employment opportunities. To rededicate yourselves to fighting for those educational opportunities. To rededicate yourselves to fighting against racism and discrimination. To rededicate yourselves to say that we will express our common humanity with people around the world whose names we don't know, but whose fate we do care about. To rededicate yourselves to make Ealing a shining example of what it means to be a successful society of ambition, of compassion, and of engagement with people's hopes and aspirations. That's the sort of Britain I want to live in. I know it's the sort of Ealing you want to live in. It's the Labour Party that has to make itself the vehicle for achieving that. Thank you very much indeed.